Hi. You may know me as Adam Campbell from 9sense. You'd be right. But I wanted to join you in a little different manner today. Because today is a special day. Today, we're alive. That's right, the world was going to end last night. And for those of us who knew all along it wouldn't, well, nothing really has changed. But for everyone else, it's got to be a good day to be alive. Narrowly averted. The end of days. How foolish can people be? It seems their ignorance knows no bounds. But for them, for all of those herds, the ignorant masses, if you will, I would like to, in my own special way, congratulate them on living yet another day. They have always provided us with laughable entertainment. Their stupidity entertains us more than anything else. And though I think the world may be better without them, and on some base level, I kind of do wish there was a rapture for them, so we could be rid of them once and for all. It is moments like these, narrowly averted apocalypses, where they can take a look at themselves, and for the briefest of moments, realize how fucking retarded they are.
I would like, if I may, take you on a strange journey. Oh. Okay.
Let me welcome you to yet another fantastic show. That's right, this is 9sense. I'm your host, Adam Campbell. It is the 22nd of May, and we're alive! We are alive. It's actually kind of hot in my little space here. I have a really just jam-packed full episode for you today. And I hope you're going to enjoy it. Because I enjoyed collaborating it, collecting it, and delivering it to you today. It is special for a number of reasons. We're doing the follow-up interview to Storm Art on You Studios pop print Inkathon. And in Creature Feature, it is the first of many shows dedicated to or featuring another sister podcast on the Radio Free Satan Network. And today it's The Devil's Mischief. So I'll be talking with the Reverend Bill M. We had a really fantastic conversation last week, and I'm excited to bring it to you. And hopefully there'll be going to be more to come from the other fine shows at Radio Free Satan. As for this week, I went hiking yesterday, and I'm sorry, not yesterday, but the day before yesterday, and carried my daughter for 3/4 the trek, and I am fucking still sore and exhausted. But we saw some amazing scenery. We took some video. So if you have any interest in seeing the sort of places we go hiking, I'm going to be posting that sometime this week on my YouTube account. And you can find that through social networking sites or just email me. It's going to be a good show today. Let me go ahead and jump into it because it is going to be a long show. You're going to get a little bit less of me, a little less FaceTime with me, probably to your liking. But in The Devil's Advocate, I'm going to be talking about the Satanic Bunco sheet. In the Infernal Informant, I'm going to be bringing you the interview, the post-pop print Inkathon interview with Storm from Art on You Studios. And I'm also going to talk to you about Stephen Hawking and his belief that there is no heaven. We might have something in common with this guy. And in the Creature Feature, as mentioned already, I'm going to be talking with Reverend Bill M. about his show, The Devil's Mischief. We actually talked about Radio Free Satan. We talked about his show. We talked about him, some other projects that he's dealt with already, websites and blogs and stuff like that. So, really, I hope you enjoy it. It's good to be around yet another day. And I can't wait to meet someone who had any belief in Saturday on Monday. And, just rub in their stupidity a little bit. It's what keeps me going. So how about we just jump right in to the Devil's Advocate.
O sine florescia, tu agati, pagata, renuncias, calizoti, sopra todo, ore, ita, stazo, skiras, cha, nel, Rasolvo, da, Toa, Didimizo, Comene, da, Nobeloa, Sobate, Kininu, Ereja, Alani, Borebe, Obene, Hiresh, Asero, Foere, Kare, Yasoda, Ranta, Ereja, we are the Devil's Advocate.
As I already mentioned, we're going to be talking about the Satanic Bunco sheet. For those of you who don't know what that is, on the Church of Satan's website, I feature articles and essays and stuff that are posted, and this is one of them based on Satanism and pseudo-Satanism groups that like to affiliate themselves. And it's just sort of a rundown on what to expect and what to look for in these pseudo-satanic groups and people. And as usual, let me start this by saying I'm a member of the Church of Satan. I am a Satanist, but I do not speak for the Church of Satan. This page here, this article, you should really go to the website and read it yourself. I'm going to go over it briefly and just sort of highlight key parts of it. But reading it in its entirety is really what you should be doing. Because Anton LaVey has made Satanism so popular, everyone wants to jump on the bandwagon. If you're new to the realm of darkness, suddenly feeling the fires of Satan burning within you, be warned. There are unethical individuals out there who will prey upon you, claim to teach you how to become a great black magician overnight, who will promise instructional fellowship and activities with true masters, who may claim unverifiable links with the Church of Satan or other such lineage. With the continued expansion of the internet, this situation is multiplied geometrically. So your vigilance will continue to be tested as you walk along the cyber midway. And there's a number of things listed here. So, number one, when someone claims to have a direct line of communication with Satan, watch out. That should be pretty fucking obvious. You can't have a direct line of communication with a metaphor, can you? So, if you suffer for that one, if you fall for that one, you fucking deserve it. Number two, look out for jargon and secrets to which only the initiated can privy. Once you're processed through the lengthy and strictly enforced degree system, you'll discover there are really no answers, just more gobbledygook. Yeah, and I love this. People say there's degrees of information that need to be brought down. This is actually a really typical one for Christianity to do as well. There's degrees of orders of Christianity that with each degree that you step into, you become more enlightened and shit. You shouldn't be looking for Satanism if you're looking for stuff like that, because it's just not a reality. There are enough, crazy occult groups out there that do shit like this. The order, the degree in the order that you are, the more information or power you gain and shit. There's stuff like that already. If you're looking for that, go play a fucking game. Earn levels in that. It's not reality. Number three, check the copyright date. Much of the esoterica you may receive from supposed masters as wisdom or revelation comes directly from Anton LaVey, the Church of Satan, or our affiliates. You always got to keep in mind that Satanism didn't exist before Anton LaVey created it. The Church of Satan is his creation. So the entire basis, the entire ideas behind it are all his. Certainly they are derived from various places, throughout his life and his experience in mankind and human nature and stuff. But all of the base information and structure was his manufacture. So when you find these groups that spout the same information from ages before or since, well, it's just not true, and it's all come from that one source. 4, the most parasitic satanic newsletters invariably contain a liberal dose of LaVey baiting. Their editors' masochistic requirements are exercised as lively exchange. When responding to such transparent tactics, it's our policy to preface rebuttals with 2 acknowledgments. A, I know you're masochist and delight in hostile banter. And B, anything I write or say to you will keep you going for another 6 months. The Satanic Bible advises to question all things, but it helps to be able to think first. 5, most pseudo-satanic groups are short-lived, running out of money, enthusiasm, or suckers before too long. 6, how do they deal with Anton LaVey and the Church of Satan? This is like a pretty big one. You're either a Satanist or you're not a Satanist. You either understand the philosophy and it's a part of who you are, or you don't. You don't pick and choose pieces. That's stuff that Christians do, and that's just not who we are. This isn't information that after time becomes irrelevant. Because it's based in human nature, it's always relevant. It's always been relevant and always will be relevant. So there's no need to say, well, I agree with this, but I don't agree with this. You either do or you don't. And that's what defines you as a Satanist or as a satanic group. Be wary of the approach of, you probably aren't smart enough to join us. The only way you can prove them wrong is by joining. There's no litmus tests involved in Satanism. It's representing yourself as a Satanist because you are one. Really, that's it. Beware of cults offering sex orgies and drugs, or killing animals in the name of Satan. As you well know, these are not part of satanic practices. Read the Satanic Bible. It's all there. 9. Carefully examine any groups who set themselves up as intermediaries between you and Satanism, who claim that they can instruct you on how to be a Satanist. And this kind of goes back to something that has been touted often. You either are or you are not. You're never taught how to be a Satanist. And you learn that by reading the Satanic Bible. It's pretty fucking straightforward. 10. Some other groups to watch out for. A. Feminist, Wiccan-oriented, consciousness-raising groups who practice more male-bashing than magic. B. New Age groups that promote LaVeyan concepts but shun the dreaded S-word. C. Jargon-laden Christians masquerading as Satanists. D. Pen pal or lonely heart social groups pretending to be elitists performing powerful satanic rituals. And then it goes on to say that this is not to say that all groups are counterproductive to Satanism as a movement. There are many which are productive, supportive branches of the Church of Satan, like various divisions of the same army. These distinct grottos and orders may emphasize one satanic image over another, but they're all aligned in communication and working toward the same goals. So there you have it, Satanic Bunco sheet. I did not go over the entire thing, so you should go to the website, read up on it again. And you know what? As it says here at the very last, forewarned is forearmed. Let's go ahead and move on to our interview in the Infernal Informant. Once again, you know what? Now I'm going to call you friend of the show because you've been on once before and now you're friend of the show. If you come on one more time, I'm going to have to say 9sense's own Storm. It's sort of an ownership level. But we're actually in person now. Hopefully the microphone is going to pick us up a lot better. You know, last time it was the cell phone and a really shitty microphone, and so we've remedied both of those situations. Ideally, this is going to go off without a hitch. And it looks like it's picking up our voices pretty well. So, how you doing, Storm?
I'm doing well. I'm glad to be back on here with you, Adam. Great to be hanging out here in your house and drinking some of your home brew. Yeah, we're lucky it wasn't one of the worst beers. I think the closer I get to bottling to the bottom of the bucket, that's when it starts to get sort of nastier. And I think I had one of those earlier, which is why I mentioned that it might be a scary proposition to try it. All right, so you know, let's talk about the Pauper and Inkathon. I was there, and first let me sort of give you my experience. I had planned with about 5 other people to meet up and go down there. And
everyone was on board. Everyone was good to go. I checked Facebook. I think it was like 7:30 or 8 or maybe 8:30 in the morning, sometime around there, and someone had posted something about, is there a line already? And you said you were going to, you replied to that post saying you were going to go down and find out, and then yes, there was a line. And it was like ridiculously early before the shop even opened for the event, and so I scrambled, and I had my kids scrubbed and washed in the showers, and we rushed our asses down there to stand in line, and none of my other friends were able to make it, like, at all by the time that I was there. And certainly not until later, but, you know, they did sort of roll in throughout the day. The ones that said they would show up anyway. But I was the only one that brought my kids. Like, I understand you go into a tattoo shop and, you know, kids aren't generally, like, absolutely okay. But it was just awkward having, you know, my 2 ADHD children standing in line with tons of other people just... And that was kind of the entertainment of the line. You know, it was weird. And then you came out and you gave your spiel welcoming everyone and thanking them and everything. And it was first time I ever saw you in person and walked right by each other. It was really kind of weird. I wanted to, like, reach my hand out, but then you were sort of in your meet and greet mode. And
right.
I didn't want to enter.
No, I wouldn't have minded at all. I think it's fabulous that there are that many people that recognize me, whether it's the first time they've seen me and only seen me before on Facebook, or whether they're coming to the shop, like some of the Magnites out there, when they're coming in almost every other day, it seems like, to just grab even a bag of popcorn, because we seem to have a signature popcorn that draws people in for that. No, I don't mind at all. I think it's great that I guess I've developed some sort of image out there. I think it's neat. And so, no, I wouldn't mind if you had reached out and said, hey, you know, it's me, Adam. We spoke on the phone.
Yeah. I was that guy that had that shitty interview. That's sort of what I did. All right. Well, anyway, the event, as far as I saw it, went off really smoothly. People were flowing through the office really well. You had a lot of people there helping. And how did it end up turning out?
It turned out really, really great. I don't have any complaints that I can think of at all. I think a lot of that came from our experience last year when we did the penguin lavender ribbons for the Huntsman. And based on that experience, we were able to take very specific actions so that this year could run even smoother than it did last year. The addition of 2 guest artists coming in from other shops, the extra volunteers, and even the spur-of-the-moment stencil girls, kind of, we're joking calling her. I'd worked with Amber before, and that's who I went and greeted out in the line that I noticed immediately. I hadn't made contact with her for a couple of years, and to see her out there was a fabulous surprise, and having her come in and say, if you need some help, I would love to help wherever I can. So we definitely had some organization that I'm proud of.
Yeah, it went really well, and actually she was a really great girl too. I mean, really nice and friendly, and it was a nice way to sort of be greeted into the process, because it was really had to be set up as a process. You know, it wasn't like the traditional, you come in, you meet the artist, you talk about anything. I mean, this is really, you know, you're cycling people through, trying to allow everyone an opportunity to get inked and stuff. So, you know, I foresaw in the time that I was there, and I think I was there until a little after noon. You know, the whole time I was like, oh, this is going to be a problem, or this is going to end up being a problem, or that's going to end up being a problem. And it went really smoothly. So I was really impressed. And I think a lot of other people, I know, in fact, there was 2 girls behind us that were saying they were there for the event, the Huntsman Center event before, and it didn't go so smoothly as this one. It just took a little bit longer, I think, was their comment.
A little bit longer is kind of an understatement. When I was doing it last year, we had people that were waiting in line up to 10 hours.
Whoa!
And it was so big and so understaffed that we ended up having to go into a second day. We didn't realize how many supplies we were going to be using.
Wow.
We didn't realize to whatever extent there was sort of a low-level viral effect that happened across Facebook and the internet. And so many people had shown up. We didn't realize that when we got there that there were going to be people waiting in line starting about 7:30 in the morning. And by the time we started, I mean, it was a complete shock to us. And we did what we had to do to accommodate everyone that was in that line and get everyone tattooed last year. But based on that experience, that's why I say that this year we took the extra measures necessary to have a more successful event, and something that you wouldn't normally do in the tattoo industry, and that was basically having an assembly line of tattoos going out the door. Yeah, but it worked. And I'm very happy and very proud, and we look forward to doing it again next year.
Hell yeah. That actually is going to bring me to one of the other questions I had here. In the future, obviously you say next year, what do you plan on doing next year? What are some other charities that you would like to work for?
You know, at this point, we haven't even thought that far. I'm still trying to post pictures from this event, trying to get some video footage together that my youngest ghoul had taken.
Nice.
And, you know, I just barely wrote 2 articles, one that I submitted to In, which was published today, and another one that I submitted to City Weekly, which I'm going to blow up someone's phone until hopefully they publish that. But we haven't even thought that far. Usually around January of the year is when we sit down as a group and start discussing what we're going to do. This year, I think it was pretty well set in our minds that we were going to do the Humane Society. That was the first suggestion that my wife and I brought up last year. And when someone else that was a part of our team last year had suggested the Huntsman, then we thought, you know what, I think almost all of us know someone or have been affected by cancer in some fashion. So that's why we decided to do that last year. But this year, I think we're pretty determined to do the Humane Society, especially when my wife regularly does fostering of the kittens and with all the animal lovers like we discussed last time that we have in the shop. I mean, it was a pretty easy choice to choose the Humane Society. Next year, I'm not sure what we're going to do yet, and I'll worry about that when 2012 gets here.
Yes, I can imagine that it takes quite a bit of planning, and it's got to just drain a lot of energy out of you. I mean, just the whole setting up and tearing down of the event, let alone actually running the event itself.
It does. It takes a lot out of you, but it's so rewarding. It really is to do something like that. I think it's important to give back, especially as a business. I believe that all businesses should give back, and it's something that I've brought up before to members of our team, and even when I'm speaking to other entrepreneurs or business owners, I think it's something that a business needs to do, to give back to the community, especially when the community is coming to you and being regular patrons and supporting your business. It's important to give back to them. Yeah. So and like I said, it's so rewarding. By the time you're all finished, especially when it's something like this, when you know that you're helping all these animals ultimately find themselves into new homes with loving individuals, you can't help but feel good when you walk away from an event at its completion.
Oh yeah. I was looking at that first article the Salt Lake Tribune posted, which was really just like this side-handed blurb about the event. Didn't really talk about anything really in depth at all. But there's, obviously the Salt Lake Trib has some pretty vocal followers in their discussion forums. And I saw at the bottom of some of the comments, people were actually complaining that this was a tattoo rather than just a donation. As if it wasn't an option, and as if people didn't just give money for the sake of giving money. The tattoo was sort of helping people draw into the charity event.
Right.
But these people were actually complaining, I say these people because there was like 2 of them that I noticed, complaining that there shouldn't have even been a tattoo element to it. And what would you say to someone like that?
I think that almost any charity event should have something. I mean, even Jerry's kids. Jerry gets out there and has people that come in to perform and entertain for the money that they're trying to raise. I think it's important to have a theme, a shtick, something that's going to help to draw those people in. Yeah. And really, we were donating our time, we were donating our skill, we were donating every bit of what went into these tattoos. The needles, everything was donated. So really, it was just sort of a bonus gift to say thank you for coming in and donating your money, rather than just saying, hey, we're having a donation-a-thon or something crazy like that.
A collecting money-a-thon.
Yeah, I'm collecting money. If you want to just drop by any time and just drop off $20, that'd be great, and we'll say thank you. I think there's a little bit more to it, and I think it develops something with all the other people that are in that line. They begin to sort of bond with one another. They'll start talking about, in this case, their dogs, their cats, that sort of thing. And there's a camaraderie to it. There are people that they're meeting. It's far more unique than just saying, come in and put money in an envelope. Come in and drop money into our jar. Yeah. You see that enough at 7-Eleven and the grocery stores. If you want to just drop money into a jar, then those are the places to do it. So you're going to have those people out there that say, well, I'm lazy, I don't want to be a part of this. Well, then fine. Send in your donation to the Humane Society. Thank you very much. You don't have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually struck me as pretty fucking insulting. I mean, the idea that, I mean, what were you? You know, what are the options here? You're a tattoo studio that's running a charity event. What did they expect you to fucking offer? You know,
Right.
I mean, it's just ridiculous. People bitch about fucking anything. You give them a glass of water when they're thirsty, and it's not cold enough. You know, there's always something. So it struck me as weird when I saw it, and so I was just wondering your take on it.
No, and that's absolutely what I agree too. I mean, that's what we were trying to think of. We are a tattoo shop. What can we do? Well, we do tattoos. You know, the fucking obvious thing. That's what we do. And we just tried to find a unique way to do something that each of us could do quickly and raise some money for something that we all stand behind and believe in.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you what, if it wasn't for that event, I wouldn't have met some of the artists that you had down at your studio and seen your work and their work and stuff. And, you know, I'm going to obviously come visit you for some work I have waiting on me and my wife as well because of that event. So, you know, it was great that it helped our animal friends and the Humane Society specifically with their efforts. But it's got to be nice to also just bring in potential future customers and future friends and sort of, you know, get the word out that you know, you are a talented shop and sort of just, you know, the name recognition that comes with being a philanthropist, being someone that helps other people. You know, there's specifically a business element to that I know you don't capitalize on, but, you know, it's part of what helps, well, I guess, develop a brand in and of itself for a shop or for any business, you know?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you want to look at that perspective, you can look at any successful entrepreneur or go to business literature. One of my favorites is Napoleon Hill. I'm a huge fan of Napoleon Hill's writings. You look at Think and Grow Rich, he has an entire section in his book, an entire principle that's dedicated to giving. And in turn, it will give back to you. So, yeah, you're absolutely correct. To say that there is an element that isn't going to help your business by giving, it is wrong. It will help you, but that's, you know, like you had said, it's not what we were thinking about. But you're right. You know, people come in, they have a chance to experience the shop if they've never experienced it before, to meet the artist, and to be a part of the friendly attitudes that we've, you know, worked hard to develop within ourselves and within our staff. And then they want to come back. They want to come back and have that experience again with that artist within that shop. And even if it's just like I said earlier, to just come in and munch on the tasty popcorn and see the Addams Family movie, one of the other bloody movies that we might have playing at the time. I mean, it's, you know, they become attracted to the whole experience. So yes, there is definitely a collateral effect that you notice. But no, we were there to raise money for the animals, and it's nice to just have the collateral effect. That's
yeah, it's sort of an added bonus.
It is just an added bonus.
The great feeling of actually doing the event. When did you present the check to the Humane Society?
It was this past Monday. Renee and I had gone down there. We met with the director of the Humane Society, presented the check, had our photos taken, and that's when I think just like last year when we were at the Huntsman, that's when that feeling really hits you the hardest. And you think, wow, this is incredible. We just did something phenomenal for an organization that truly needs it.
That's cool. What was their reaction? Were they? I mean, they knew you were putting on the event, and so they knew, you know, it was in the mail that you were going to be stopping by and, you know, presenting them. I imagine he was just, I don't know what, taken aback and just pretty pleased. Or I mean,
oh yeah, I think more than anything, what takes people back, both last year and this year, when we're into their respective organizations presenting these checks, is they think, holy shit, a tattoo shop, you know, not only decided to do this, but was able to raise this much money doing little tattoos on people all day. You know, I think you're right. I think they're truly taken back and thought, oh, I'll bet they'll raise, you know, a few $100, maybe $1,000. But when you're coming in with thousands of dollars, that's when they think, wow, you know, that's generally something that's coming from large benefactors and not from something like a tattoo shop. And I think, once again, this is something that I'm proud to say in our industry. You know, we're breaking down barriers and we're tearing away stereotypes, misconceptions about tattoo artists, and no longer are we part of a seedy underbelly or, or just you know, among those people that are walking the wrong side of the tracks.
Hell yeah. You know what? And it's funny because when I was growing up, I was born in 77, so I'm not like aged or anything here, but even when I was growing up, the idea of having a tattoo was literally like you might as well throw your life away because all doors would be closed to you. You know, that means you're a dirty, disgusting person. And now, I mean, I don't have sleeves or anything, but I've got a couple pretty good tattoos, and I'm still successful. You know, it's just that idea that one thing equates the other. So tattoos equate failure in life, and it's just so absurd. And you know, we sort of went through that early 2000 where tattooing was like the greatest, coolest, hippest thing in the world. I think we're finally dying out of the hipness factor of it.
Right.
And I would like to think that it's going back to having meaning versus just everyone has a tribal design. You know, that sort of phase that the scene kind of went through. But yeah, it's just that idea that when I think of a tattoo parlor, I certainly don't think philanthropy. I would never think charity, ever. You know, maybe tipping. If you're at like a bar or something, you know, a tattooist, once they do a job, they'll tip a little extra. But that's about it. And so, you know, when I found out about this, I was really just shocked. I was like, what the fuck is going on? You know, there's got to be some other layer to this. Like, I don't understand why. Because, you know, I've only been back in Salt Lake since 2004. So it's been a number of years that I've been back. But I don't ever remember hearing about another tattoo parlor doing anything like this. You know?
There are other shops that do philanthropy projects. I can't think of one locally off the top of my head. Not to say that there isn't.
Right.
I'm sure there probably is a shop that does other philanthropy. I think most shops, though, donate gift certificates or T-shirts or other things that they're donating toward various charitable causes. I know probably one of the big ones is BACA. Yeah. And other bikers that will do runs and rallies for various drives, whether it's Fallen Brothers or whether it's
I've seen those.
Children and child abuse, that sort of thing. Or I've also seen rides for cancer. And generally, those are the groups that tattoo shops are most known for donating something toward. But generally, like I said, it's a gift certificate toward tattoos, as opposed to having large groups come into the shop or through the shop to be a part of an event like this. So at least as far as I know in this area, I think we're the only one that does that.
Yeah. I'm going to have to look into that now, and maybe we can convince some other shops and maybe even have some competition on who can raise the most money. And you know, it would help everyone else out, you know, in the valley with any sort of charity work. You know, and I got to be honest here. I'm not big on just help. Like if I see someone on the side of the street with a sign saying, you know, I'm out of work, give me some money. I'm not the type of person that donates money to that cause. But if it's something that affects me personally, and this is just sort of, you know, the selfish part of me, then I have no problem, you know, doing what I can.
Wow, a Satanist that's selfish?
yeah, really, right? So, I mean, you know, at some level, you know, I can't shake this idea that I would like to be able to, you know, help people. It's just, I just don't fucking want to, you know. At some level, I don't know what it means.
And I think that's why we've so carefully chosen the organizations that we have. Last year, like I said, with the Huntsman, my grandmother had fallen victim to cancer. She didn't survive. And you know, that's something that really affects a lot of us. In fact, just before we got on recording, I know we were talking about it, you know, it affects 25% of the population. That's something that's huge. And knowing that, that's why we chose that. This year with animals, let's face it, animals are a large part of the satanic lifestyle. So that became very easy to choose to do something for the Humane Society, you know, or the ASPCA if we had an ASPCA here. That would have been an easy one to choose to help out an organization like that. But you're absolutely correct. When I see people on the side of the road, I'm just like you. I think, fuck you, dude. Get a job.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want to help every schmuck that's at the, you know, and they're now anymore you see them at Smith's, Walmart, you know, in front of, I'm going through to get a Frappuccino at Starbucks and someone's begging for my change. You know, I think, you know what I did, dude? I worked my ass off to earn the Frappuccino I'm sucking down right now. Maybe you could do something too. And I'm not saying that people don't end up in hardship situations, but It's not my job to bail them out.
Yeah.
Nor do I want to make it my job. Fuck them. So I think that the same will go in the future also. We will carefully pick and choose those organizations as opposed to just wanting to be charitable or wanting to be, to do philanthropy in some fashion. I think we're going to carefully choose which philanthropy we do because I don't want to just throw money at the bums on the street because, yes, as far as I'm concerned, they're bums on the street.
Yeah, for real. And you were right about saying that. Sometimes shit happens and people end up in some pretty shitty fucking situations. But I don't think that means that you can't get yourself out of it. At some level, there has to be a little bit of personal accountability. So I think it's fantastic the work you're doing. I would absolutely love to be of any assistance for the next one, even if that just means dropping some cash on the table for the next charity you guys choose. I always like to help out fellow Satanists and, other people that I consider, the alien elite, I guess I'll say, because not every Satan or not every person I consider alien elite qualifies themselves as Satanists. Some are just atheists that are strong enough to, or just don't have the aesthetic appeal towards Satanism. But strong enough to be able to proclaim themselves without hiding behind something. That seems to be a pretty big thing in Utah. People, and I guess this is anywhere, because there's such a negative association with Satanism, that people try to hide behind online personas or something, or there's actually genuine consequences to coming out, saying,
right.
well, I am a Satanist, And this may sound weird, but I personally sort of liken it to homosexuals, in the last 20 years or 50 years or 100 years, where if they come out, there's a lot of negative stereotypes built into that, and they're just sort of pushed down. And, it may be a pretty shitty comparison, but I genuinely think that...
I don't know if that is. If you can look back at the interviews with Dr. LeVay and Satanists, and he had mentioned that you have a lot of people that are going to be living as... Satanists, but under the guise of other labels because they can't come out. And you have other people right now that are also doing that for very personal reasons, whether it means their employment, whether it means being chastised by their neighbors or whatever. They can't come out and say, hey, I'm a Satanist. And I just, like I said last time, I happen to be in a fortunate position where I'm my own boss. Yeah. So I'm not going to fire me for proclaiming it. And I'm not afraid of what the neighbors think when on our birthdays or on specific holidays like Walpurgisnacht that we fly the Baphomet flag out in front of our house. And I'm not afraid to have those elements on Facebook that I'll put out there on my public profile specifically. That definitely show that, I walk the left-hand path. Not everybody can do that.
Yeah.
But we are seeing a lot more of those people that are coming out of the depths of hell and revealing themselves and letting themselves be known that, yes, I am a Satanist, and I think that's fantastic. So I do think it's sort of like homosexuality, where for the longest time they did feel threatened, and now you see that coming out, and I think the next wave is going to be us.
Yeah.
It's going to be us coming out saying, you know what, the day, former member Diabolus Rex had said that the day of the cross is done.
Yeah, no, like for sure. It's really at the point where we're literally putting the last nails in the coffin, or on the crucifix, so to speak. All right, man. Well, it's always a pleasure having you on the show, and I look forward to talking to you about your next event. Hopefully you'll be all right with having me down there, and maybe next time I can have the technology to go down there and interview some of the people willing to help. If you'd be all right with that, and see their perspectives, and the volunteers.
Oh yeah,
whatever the charity is.
Yeah, in fact, two of our volunteers are also fellow citizens. So
cool.
Yeah, the gal that you met at the front desk.
Yeah,
Denny. She's one of us. So
that's cool. Yeah, I remember talking to her or messaging her briefly about it.
In fact, her and her husband. As well as her daughter Kate, are among the ones that went far above and beyond and they were there with us really, really late Friday night to help us get everything ready and to help the finishing touches on the expanded sign that you got to see open.
Yeah.
And then they were there with us early in the morning, and in fact, all the way beyond close. And that's why we wanted to celebrate with them next door at the filling station afterwards.
Cool. So she doesn't work there?
No, she doesn't.
Oh, wow.
No, she's a good, very good friend of ours. In fact, we celebrated while Perderschnacht with them, and they get tattooed at the shop all the time. That entire sleeve is my work that I'm doing right now on her bill.
Nice.
Otherwise, no. That's just them being good friends and supporting the cause.
Well, that's fucking awesome. All right. Well, I don't want to keep here much longer than you need to be. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I do really appreciate you coming in. It really is a pleasure. And it's an honor to meet you. Finally, face to face.
Right.
And you know what? For all of you out there, keep your ears open for next year. There's going to be something else that's going to be great in the works from Art on You Studios and from Storm. And you know what? I think that's going to cover it. Is there any shout-outs you want to give to any of the other volunteers or anything?
I think if I was going to give a shout-out, just be to all the volunteers in general. Definitely to those people that came in from other shops. Thank you so much for being a part of it. And, of course, I think my special shout-out would be to Renee, my queen.
Oh, yeah. Love, baby.
It's all about love. You're damn right it is.
All right, man. Well, you have a good night. And you know what? Art on You Studios, if you're in Salt Lake, check them out. They got a big heart, and it has a sigil of Baphomet right in the middle. So, do what you can to help them out. That interview was chopped up, and it actually went a lot longer. That we talked about a lot of other great things that are going on, not only with the Satanic community, but with Storm personally and stuff. So I'll probably break that off into another segment sometime. I'm still tossing around that idea of doing a segment called "So You Think You Know Satanist," and if I do end up ever rolling that out, he'll be one of the featured members of that segment. So before I get to the interview with Reverend Bill M. In the Creature Feature, I have this article that I wanted to talk about that I found rather interesting, and I think people that regularly watch the show will find it interesting as well. So I hope you'll bear with me here. This is from The Guardian. Stephen Hawking, There Is No Heaven. It's a Fairy Story. In an exclusive interview with The Guardian, the cosmologist shares his thoughts on death, M-theory, human purpose, and our chance existence. Now, because I'm going to be going long in this episode, I'm going to just go briefly over this article, and then I'm going to jump right over into Creature Feature. And I'm actually not going to be doing a Bizarre this week also, because I'm going to be going a bit long here. The article reads, "A belief that heaven or an afterlife awaits us is a fairy story for people afraid of death," Stephen Hawking said. In a dismissal that underlines his firm rejection of religious comforts, Britain's most eminent scientist said there was nothing beyond the moment when the brain flickers for the final time. Hawking, who was diagnosed with motor neuron disease at the age of 21, shares his thoughts on death, human purpose, and our chance existence in an exclusive interview with The Guardian today. And the questions are pretty much boiled down to this. What is the value in knowing why we are here? And he answers, the universe is governed by science, but science tells us that we can't solve the equations directly in the abstract. We need to use the effective theory of Darwinian natural selection of those societies most likely to survive. We assign them higher value. And they question, you've said there's no reason to invoke God to light the blue touch paper. Is our existence all down to luck? Hawking says, science predicts that many different kinds of universe will be spontaneously created out of nothing. It is a matter of chance that we are in. Another question, so here we are, what should we do? And he says, we should seek the greatest value of our action. He's sounding pretty solidly like a Satanist in that statement. Question, you had a health scare and spent time in the hospital in 2009. What, if anything, do you fear about death? And he says, I have lived with the prospect of an early death for the last 49 years. I'm not afraid of death, but I'm in no hurry to die. I have so much that I want to do first. I regard the brain as a computer, which will stop working when its components fail. There's no heaven or afterlife for broken down computers. That's just a fairy story for people afraid of the dark. It's fucking A right. Question, what are the things you find most beautiful in science? And he replies, science is beautiful when it makes simple explanations of phenomena or connections between different observations. And examples include the double helix in biology and the fundamental equations of physics. You should probably check out the article if you're at all interested in Stephen Hawking or other atheists. Hawking has come out with his own series that I think it was only like 3 or 4 episodes. And you can imagine someone in his condition, it would be difficult to devote a significant amount of time for a series, so it's not really shocking in and of itself. But what he speaks to clearly resonates in the philosophy that we share. So it's always interesting, for me at least, because I'm fascinated with space and the universe, to hear professionals like him sort of repeat ideas that I've shared and believed in, my entire life as well. So it's just something that's a little bit interesting. And so, like I said, that's going to be it for the Infernal Informant this week. Let's go ahead and move over to Creature Feature, where we'll talk to Reverend Bill M. about Radio Free Satan, about Devils and Mischief, and about him. And hopefully you'll enjoy it. And let's go ahead and move on in there. Welcome to another Creature Feature. Today I have a very special guest in my first of many series interviewing other DJs on the Radio Free Satan network. I thought I would start with the top, sort of the flagship podcast for the entire network, Radio Free Satan. We're talking with Reverend Bill M. from the Devil's Mischief. Reverend, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really a pleasure to have you. I know you're really busy, so I'll try to keep this short, but I do tend to drag on with my questions and replies and stuff, so I'll try not to waste much of your time. I do have a bit of a cold, so that might also cut this a little bit short here. But for those of the audience who aren't familiar with your show, though I can't imagine why any of them wouldn't be, can you tell me a little bit about yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Bill M., and I'm a priest of the Church of Satan. I've been a member of the Church of Satan for about 15 years. And, of course, a big fan of comedy, big collector of comedy. And outside of comedy, I'd say my 2 biggest passions in life are mathematics and music. I'm a musician. I love music theory, love to sing, buy, and collect different instruments. And I love mathematics, have a bachelor's and master's degree in math. Can't get enough of it. And that probably scares more people more often than the Satanism thing.
I think you're absolutely right with that. It certainly scares me. Yeah, the first time I was exposed to you was in the website of Letters to the Devil, actually, message board, and I posted, the beginning of this podcast, really, and you had replied really quickly about Radio Free Satan, and I had actually listened to Radio Free Satan way back in the day. I say way back in the day, and I don't know, maybe it had to be somewhere around like 97 or 98, I think.
No, we just started in 2000, so
really?
Regardless, it was probably a long time ago.
Yeah, well, so Radio Free Satan, it's been around since, you say, 2000, which is a long time. Really fantastic. If you could maybe tell me what started, what shows were sort of the beginning of Radio Free Satan.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to preface that with sort of an analogy, and I said, the movie AI. And give a quick spoiler here. At the end of the movie, there are those high-tech aliens, and they have absolutely no knowledge of their origins and humanity. And the only people they have to rely on is this one robotic boy that's just a few years old. That's kind of how I feel at Radio Free Satan. I didn't, I wasn't there from the beginning, but I have, I ended up having the longest running show, so. I sort of remember things here and there. Say, hey, we actually used to do this and that. So I do remember Radio Free Satan starting. It got off. We had some technical difficulties, but it finally got off June 2000. And there were just a handful of shows then, and podcasting, nobody had even heard of that at the time. We didn't have that option. Most people were still on dial-up, so it was basically a radio stream, and it was an audio stream, and so you had to be dialed into the internet and tune into the stream, and we just had the shows on a repeating loop, so you tuned in at different times of the day to hear different shows.
Nice.
And we had other people come and go over the years.
What inspired you to first start your podcast for the show?
Well, the thing I've always said that I think what everybody on Radio Free Satan has in common is that we have these audio recordings that we love, and we think more people should be hearing these things, and I think a lot of other people would like to hear them, and so that's the way it was with me. And instead of going down a musical route, I decided to go with a comedy route, comedy and novelty, because we didn't have a comedy show at the time, and I've always been a fan of comedy recordings, and I would burn compilation CDs for my other friends. So
nice.
This was the chance to go play all of that and let a lot of people hear things they might not normally heard on their own. It's been strange because even people outside of the U.S. especially have been saying, because of your show, I had never heard of George Carlin before, or, these other comedians. And we sort of take that for granted in the U.S. because there's a lot of comedy outlets as it is. But
So, The Devil's Mischief is the name of your show, and obviously now we've alluded that it is comedy and sort of a novelty show. How do you choose the content for your show?
Well, first and foremost, if it's something I like, I want to go play it. And, stuff I dislike, I, usually won't even touch. I also try to keep in mind what stuff, what's some comedian I haven't played in a while. Because I try to keep things fresh, keep things rotating and going. Once in a while I'll come up with a theme, too, and I'll try to pick things that fit into that theme that week.
Nice. And, so you've been doing this for 8 years.
Yeah, it's hard to believe. It seems like it was only yesterday I was trying to get this thing off the ground.
That's amazing. That's like just 1 year younger than my son, and that seems like a really long time when I put it into that context. Just as sort of a fledgling podcaster myself, is there any advice that you would have? What keeps you going? What keeps it so you feel like you just, you still have that fire?
Well, I think it's just the amount of material. I've seen a lot of people come on to Radio Free Satan or do other podcasts where it's like they start off strong, but then end up ending pretty soon, within like a couple of weeks in some cases it's been. And the thing for me is that, fortunately, comedy is a really broad category, and I have almost like a century's worth of recordings to go look back into, because I don't limit myself to just the new things. Yeah. So I'm always finding things on my own too, and that's what keeps me putting the shows together out every week.
So you must have an incredible library of comedy albums.
Well, I'm looking over at I have a CD tower that's taller than me.
Oh, wow.
Where I have, just dozens of shelves, alphabetized comedy, novelty CDs. I also have stuff I've bought digitally, too.
Oh, yeah.
And other things I've had to, rip from DVDs or even VHS tapes I had in some cases.
Oh, wow. Man. So do you ever get content from people, other listeners sending in stuff or recommending stuff?
I do. I have. I got a bunch of stuff a couple of months ago from this listener, real dedicated listener, goes by the name Coyote. Sometimes Wiley is his name, is thus the name.
Yeah, yeah.
He sent me a bunch of things that I didn't have in my collection, and some other people over the years have turned me on to other comedians and acts that I didn't know about before.
Very cool.
So I've gotten some things in there. I have received some stuff that I just took a listen to, and I said, I'm not going to play this on the show. Sorry, but I just don't find this funny.
Anything stand out in your mind?
Well, there was somebody who sent me like a bunch of discs, like about 5 or 6 discs of this guy out in Las Vegas. I have them somewhere in the pile in my room somewhere, but I listened to it and it was like, I just don't, like this. It was a lot of hack material, and that was a thing. When I started my show, I was very adamant about that, and that's one of the rules I've always kept, is I don't want to play any hack material. And by hack material, I mean the jokes that we've heard a million times before by other comedians, like, hey, when you're flying on an airplane, you ever notice that the food, I make exceptions to that, like, if it's a really, if it has a unique twist on it. George Carlin did a routine on airplanes and stuff. Yeah. It was actually funny, and had some original material in it. Or if I played another one from Bob Newhart, which was from like 1960.
Oh, wow.
Just to show you how old this joke's been going. And probably as old as the Wright brothers.
Yeah, seriously.
But getting back, there was this guy who, had the airplane jokes and like the Jack Nicholson impersonations. And it was like, no thanks.
Do you ever think of making a show devoted just to really shitty comedy?
I have actually thought of that. I have actually considered like doing like the hack episode. I did do an episode called like the Top 1%, where what I did was I took some of those like hack routines, but I actually made the effort to try to find material that I thought was actually funny about it, and I strung that up together. I did do an episode of the airplane jokes too. Trying to be very selective about all of it.
Yeah. So, how often do you put out your shows?
I've been putting them out once a week. It's been the usual time span, the usual requirements over at Radio Free Satan. There's been some exceptions to that. There has been certain times of the year where we had, breaks, vacation, or technical difficulties beyond my control, right. In which case things got, delayed a week, which I'm sure listeners know about that recently. Embarrassed to say.
And what do you think are the strengths of your comedy show over, anyone else throwing out comedy podcasts?
Well, the thing for me is, again, I try to keep the material really fresh. I had a rule in the beginning where I wasn't going to repeat any material, and I managed to keep that up for like about a year. But then I kind of realized, like, well, there are these really great comedy recordings, and they probably deserve to be played on the show more than once. Mm-hmm. So
yeah, someone might have missed it.
But I still try to maintain a rule that, if, with the exception of, best of specials, which I'll get to in a minute. Actually, I have one of those coming up this week.
Sweet.
Actually, for the people listening to this, I guess it would have been out last week.
Yeah, the anniversary show, absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the best of Blasphemy specials. But I mean, with the exception of that, those sorts of things, I try to not, repeat comedy, the same clips every. I'd say on average, like definitely no more than like 6 months.
Right.
So I might probably, mistakenly or otherwise broken that rule a couple of times, but I keep trying to check every time I put things together. I take a look at search the past episodes. It's like, okay, have I played this? When was the last time I played this? I played this 3 years ago. Okay, I guess it's okay to play it.
Yeah, I can bring this one back. Is there a way that people can get back episodes of your show?
That's a good question. The short answer is no, and it's because of it's because of some, complicated reasons. Because we are, podcast show, everybody on Radio Free Satan, we have to follow certain rules from the Digital Millennium Copyright Act of, I think it was 1998. Right. And because of that and, some other factors, I can't make everything available for free to everybody at any given time.
Right.
So that doesn't mean that once a show is gone, it's gone forever. Because once in a while, if we're doing a vacation break on Radio Free Satan or something like that, I'll make another show from the past available. I'll pick out a show that was pretty popular or got some good reviews on, or a show that I thought was really great but didn't get any response from, and re-air that.
Yeah. I think sort of our community would really appreciate the best of blasphemies, being re-released at some time.
Yeah, I always make a point of not repeating anything between those either. So I'm up to number, what are we up to? 11, I think. Yeah, 11 this week.
Fantastic.
Yeah, but I don't. All the material in that is, none of that's repeated from those 11 specials in and of themselves. 12 and 13 have actually been recorded, and I did give away those as one of the bonus prizes in one of the Devil's Mischief grab bags.
Oh,
Jet's giving out. Once in a while, I give those out on eBay. Maybe doing that again in the future. We'll see.
That'd be really cool. I'd like to help pimp it out, so to speak, if you'd like. Let people know, to tune in or when to tune in and stuff. So I guess let's talk a little bit about the future of your show. What do you see your show growing into, or would you like to see your show go anywhere else in addition to Radio Free Satan?
Well, it's crossed my mind. I mean, with Radio Free Satan, being Satanists, we're a minority, and it's still sort of a limited audience. But at the same time, I've thought, okay, do I want to, expand to some other station where they might say, no, you can't play this because it's offensive, or or you have to play this other thing. So those are the things.
Schedule and stuff.
Yeah. Ideally, would be nice to expand out and do other things. I don't necessarily want to do an FM, station, because again, it's sort of like, just limited audience, goes by geographical region. Yeah. I would like to do more interviews. I'm hoping to land some interviews this year, maybe next year. I've talked with Penn Jillette in person. We've actually had him interview Radio Free Satan before on another show that's no longer around. Might be able to get in touch with him for an interview. We'll see. Louis Anderson, I met him out in Las Vegas too. Maybe getting an interview with him. I've already done some interviews, but Bobby Slayton I had. So yeah, we'll see.
Oh yeah. Let me ask really quick about that. So, are they ever taken aback when you ask if they want to come on Devil's Mischief? I mean, that you're a Satanist and stuff like that. How do comedians react to that?
Well, usually it's actually been pretty positive, because I've approached like a bunch of comedians to get station IDs. Right. They say, can you read this card? Hi, and blah blah blah. You're listening to the Radio Free Satan, Devil's Mischief on Radio Free Satan. I can't think of like too many like negative reactions. Usually they just took it and said, oh, okay, and just read it. Yeah. Louis Anderson, when I met him, he looked at the piece of paper. He's like, the Devil's Mischief on Radio Free Satan. Is this mean or is it fun? I said, it's fun. So he says, oh, okay.
It's always fun.
Of course it's fun.
That's cool. Besides Radio Free Satan, where can other people find your show?
The website for the show, devilsmischief.com. You'll find information about the show, past set lists, and that kind of stuff.
Nice.
I do have a couple of other sites out on the web. Some of them are really old and have not been maintained. Hopefully people have forgotten about them.
You're not going to go back and refresh them at all anytime?
Yeah, but I do keep up the blog. I still keep up the blog, which is a place for my stuff.org, and I also bought a placeformystuff.com finally, so that will take you there too.
Nice.
Obviously taken from the George Carlin album of the same title. It's arguably my all-time favorite comedy album.
Yeah, your
one of the
stuff
first
is
ones
my shit is stuff.
Yeah. That album in particular was one of the only ones, or actually the only one where he had both a mix of studio and live stuff, and it's really unique.
I actually didn't get into him until his later years, and I do remember seeing like he had a TV show. I think it was on HBO or something like that, or maybe it was like a network. And it was
he did have a show. He did have a show. I think it was on Fox or network, and I got a couple episodes I taped off the VCR back in the day, and I transferred.
Yeah, it
myself
was
to DVD. He had a show called The George Carlin Show, which lasted, I think, 2 seasons. But yeah, you can do a little search online. You can find more information about it. But yeah, he did have The George Carlin Show.
So, like Hollywood and the Sinister Screen, you don't really keep up on?
Oh, Hollywood, yeah. I almost forgot about that.
I was just perusing your website.
Yeah, well, Hollywood was an interesting thing. Basically, what I did was Magistrate Blanche Barton's book, Church of Satan, which has been out of print, and copies go for, like, insane amounts of money on eBay.
I'm glad I got it when I did then, jeez.
Yeah, I mean, I have seen people spending, like, up to, like, $100 or more for it. But included in the appendix of that was a list of suggested movies from the Church of Satan. And out of curiosity, I was looking up these on the Internet Movie Database, and then while I was looking them up, I'll say, well, let me save the links. And, well, as long as I have the links, let me just put these in HTML. And then, like, before I knew it, it was like, okay, I might as well just make a website out of this. So that's what Hollywood was. I wanted to expand it to include more things, but I never got around to it. And my friend Magister Paradise put together the Sinister Screen, which was much more intensive and had reviews and all that. One thing I did do was I tried my best to take this huge list, which was just in alphabetical order, and sort it roughly by genre as best as I could. Mm-hmm. We were able to take that, and I think when Sinister Screen was created, I loaned that over to Magister Paradise.
Very cool. Yeah, I just started listening to his podcast maybe 3 weeks ago as well, and I really I think it's very entertaining. He's quite the funny person.
Yeah, it's great and just so well done. He's always been such a great multimedia expert and everything. And he even had a show on Radio Free Satan for a while. He used to have Heavy Metal Memories.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that was a fun show. It was all heavy metal music, and his rule was that it had to be from the 70s and 80s, so anything from 1970 to 1989 inclusive. Anything beyond that, not for the show.
Very cool. You know what? Once again, thank you so much for joining me. I really do appreciate your time. How can people get in contact with you if they want to either collaborate with you or send in suggestions?
You can just get the email address, bill@devilsmischief.com. You can find me online, other places, Letters of the Devil, through placeformystuff.com, my blog.
I'm going to have to check that out because I wasn't even aware of that at all. A placeformystuff.com, that's awesome.
That was created out of my sort of my own hoarding problems there. I started about a year ago, and it was a little over a year ago, I think. And it seems now that like hoarding is like this big news headline thing, and this, I don't want to say a fad, but it seems to be a new sort of hysteria. And I was, sort of aware of this before it came about. I don't have like rats living at my home or anything like that, but although, what was it, that TLC show, What Was Buried Alive, before they launched, they actually contacted me.
What?
Through the site, and they're saying, hey, I think just to like mention the show.
Nice.
Not to invite me on the show.
Oh.
But I did talk to them later, and they said, like, oh, well, it sounds like, from your blog and stuff, you're already cleaning up. And I mean, the way I viewed it is like, I took a look around my house and realized, okay, I have entirely too much stuff. I'm a total compulsive pack rat. What can I do to start cleaning this up? Because I want to change, my environment here. I want to change things in my life. And went about doing it. That's really pretty simple. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem to be that simple for people on the TV shows.
Yeah, well, it's got to be dramatic.
Yeah. Well, it's not something you can conquer overnight. And I wonder, like, even on these TV shows, it's like once they clean their house, does it remain like that, or do they just start, leaving crap around, and does it get back a year or even less?
That would be interesting, sort of a follow-up. Where are they now type thing.
Yeah. I did, out of curiosity, also go to, there is actually a 12-step program called Clutterers Anonymous.
Oh, wow.
I went out of curiosity. I went to I blogged about this too. If you look it up on my blog, and I realized wow, this is actually still bullshit. That all 12-step programs really are bullshit, and I would say anti-satanic because they're all based on the idea that you're hopeless and you have to turn to a higher power. And I obviously took the opposite approach. It's like, no, this is my problem, and I'm the one who has to go clean it up and conquer it.
Hells yes.
But I've turned it into a bit of comedy along the way, though, too, because, I find strange things, and I have a category called, why the hell am I keeping this still? Take photos, and it's like, wow, I have this, and it's been in my house. Why do I need this? Now that I stop and think about it and look at it, no, I don't need this. I can throw it out.
I was just scrolling down your blog, and I ran across the Taming the Cables from April 26th.
Oh, yes.
And I have... This is exactly like me. I used to, from 98 on, just sort of piecemeal together my own computers, and so I just have all these parts stuffed in a closet. Someday I might need this adapter or this cable or something, and so that is exactly like me right there.
Well, that's the thing I've learned is that seems to be, the attitude when a lot of people who are pack rats is this idea of, wait, I might need that someday, and that's usually the rationalization a lot of people use to keep stuff, but it just which is fine for the occasional computer cable or a fire extinguisher or things like that. But not you don't really need 12 used styrofoam cups hanging with coffee dried at the bottom, and I might use this for pens. No, you're not going to use it. If you've had it this long, you're not going to use it. Throw the damn thing out.
Hell yeah, that's funny.
A book that I read that was actually a lot of a big inspiration for moving forward with this was it's by this man Don Aslett called Clutter's Last Stand, and he's actually a professional cleaner, and he was asked a lot on radio shows and stuff how to solve clutter problems, and so he eventually just wrote a book about it.
Oh wow!
And he's alive. He's getting up there in the years. But his secretary actually found my site and contacted me, and I was talking with her. She was glad to see somebody taking the book and using it.
Very cool. Well, you know what, Reverend? It's been a real pleasure. Thank you once again. And for everyone out there listening to 9sense, get your asses over to Radio Free Satan. You have to listen to The Devil's Mischief. It is truly, truly funny stuff.
Best of Blasphemy number 11. So yeah, the Best of Blasphemy specials, for those that don't know, I go back and I just pick out all the, the religion bashing stuff, the Bible bashing stuff, and just put that all together in an hour. It's cathartic.
Thank you for hanging in there. That interview went long as well. We talked about a lot of things, and we just, had a really good conversation about various different topics. I might package that up later, maybe. And Reverend Bill M. has been kind enough to allude that he may be interested in coming on the show and talking about some other things some other times too. So look forward to that. I sort of broke my rule with this episode in that I wouldn't ever have more than one interview per episode, just so I could really sort of feature that. But both of these, the Pauper Inkathon follow-up interview was really a week late because I ran the Travis Sewer Part 2, and The Devil's Mischief was sort of, specific about his 8-year episode, which has been airing last week. And so I really just sort of figured, I might as well just put them both together in this episode and cut down on just my ranting and, feature some very interesting people doing some amazing things out there in our satanic world. So I hope you enjoyed it. You can let me know if you hated it or if you enjoyed it or if you found something of particular interest in it by emailing me at info@9sensepodcast.com or stop by the Facebook page, Facebook/9sense, and, let me know what you think. You can always also give me a review on iTunes or something like that. That would be kind of cool. In order to get this show, the first place you should look is Radio Free Satan. RadioFreeSatan.com has a ton of really great shows, not only music and comedy, but now this, 9sense. And the DJs are really great. The formats are fantastic. The production value is a lot better than mine, I gotta admit. So you should go over there and check it out, and listen to them and spread the word about Radio Free Satan. It's a really great resource. Also, you can find me on iTunes. I got my website, 9senspodcast.com. I got the Facebook, MySpace, Twitter. It's all fucking pimped out. I got everything out there. So however you want to get a hold of me, however you want to be viewing or listening to the show, I'm going to give it to you that way. I'm doing my best to really make it available in as many ways possible. That's it for another show. Thank you for joining me. I know it went a little bit long, but I think it was a lot more interesting than the regular shows where you just hear me talking. In closing, I would have to say, as always, my name's Adam Campbell, and until next week, hail Satan.